Authorities in the United States are asking for Turkey to release 2 vice journalists that have been imprisoned on allegations that they're working with the Islamic State and Kurdish militants. Now, of course, those accusations are unfounded, but they are saying that this is the case because Turkey is having a lot of issues with journalists doing unsavory coverage of the country and its treatment of Kurdish individuals. Now, this all happened, according to Vice News, recently when they were covering some of the brutality that Kurdish people were facing as a result of authorities in a particular area. Now, Vice News journalists Jake Hanrahan and Philip Pendlebury were detained by police as they filmed in the southeast region of Diyarbakir on Thursday. The trio had been in the region filming clashes between police and Kurdish militants. The lawyer said the journalists were subject to questions of whether they were working on behalf of the ISIS, or the Kurdish militant group PKK. They denied the accusation, saying they were only doing their job.
Okay, this is outrageous and obviously political. Were these British journalists actually working with the PKK or Islamic State? Of course not. I mean, these guys have had a long career, right? And it's not like, hey, they're young guys, they went to go cover it, and all of a sudden they got intrigued by what was going on and joined the first. No, there's no such thing, okay? They have no evidence to that fact. They'll never be able to prove that because it isn't true. For example, they've covered migrant crisis before, the Scottish referendum together, republicanism, and various other stories. Hanrahan has worked for The Guardian, The Independent, The Wired, Rolling Stone, Middle East. They've done shoots in Iraq, Afghanistan, North Korea, and the list goes on and on. They're on a normal news shoot here. Obviously, what the Turkish authorities didn't like was what was in their cameras. When they first arrest them, they say that they were
filming a military base without permission. That was the initial charge. And then they took away their cameras, reviewed the footage on the cameras, and then they decided to make the accusation that they were working with ISIS.
Okay. So now the charge of filming a military base without permission is a normal charge. Here's what I mean by that. It's normal repressive tactics, okay? So when a government doesn't want you to film anything, they'll say, okay, no, that's a military base, you can't do it. So now, I say it's relatively normal because would the U.S. allow you to go on their military base and tape it? Hell no. Probably no country would. Now, but the U.S. is not having an issue with its military base in terms of international news, whereas Turkey is. That's why Vice is there, and they're doing something perfectly legitimate as a news organization. I would want them there filming that, right? Now, again, you capture their video, and if it turns out, hey, they're taking troop movements, every government's going to take their tape and not allow that to go to air, right? But not every government's going to arrest the reporter and put them in jail. Now, that's the so-called easier part. When you get to the whole part about terror, and it turns out they are the terrorists, see, well, that's more telling, because that's the government saying, A, anyone opposed to us is by definition terrorists, right? And B, if you try to report the news, we will call you a terrorist, right? And so understand what the Turkish government is doing here. They're sending a message, okay? And the message is, don't do journalism in Turkey. Because if you do, we will arrest you, we'll put you in jail for an indefinite period of time. Of course we have no right to do it. It doesn't matter. We have the guns. And in this country, if you try to do journalism, there will be a price to pay. That's the message they're sending, not just to internal journalists, which they have sent over and over again, but now to the whole world if you come into Turkey to try to report on what's going on. One last thing for me. Islamic State and PKK hate each other. They fight all the time, okay? Now, PKK is a particular group labeled by the U.S. government and the Turkish government as a terrorist organization. They fight inside Turkey. They do terrorist activities inside Turkey. They also exist, some branches of it, in Iraq and Syria. The U.S. government will claim, no, they have nothing to do with the Kurds, who are their brothers, who are right next to them in Iraq and Syria, who fight against ISIS. Now, that is unclear to the degree which the different Kurdish groups work together to fight against ISIS, while some of them fight against Turkey. So the U.S. has to pretend that they're totally separate because we love Turkey and we love the Kurds fighting against ISIS. Ooh, that's inconvenient, right?
It is inconvenient.
And remember, look, Turkey and many other countries, Russia, others, took this playbook from America. America's the one that started with, hey, you're not on our side, you're terrorists, okay? So now, did we bring it to this level? Yes and no, okay? No, we don't arrest people inside here and call them terrorists for doing journalism. Have we helped other governments arrest people and call them terrorists? Yes. Haider al-Shai in Yemen, one of the top journalists in Yemen, arrested for being a terrorist. Why? Because he had the gall, unmitigated gall, to take pictures of what we did in Yemen, a U.S. airstrike where we killed dozens of people that were innocent civilians. And Barack Obama called the president of Yemen and said, when he was about to pardon that guy because there was outrage in Yemen, he said, don't do it. Keep him in jail. Obama knew he was a journalist, but he said, no, keep calling him a terrorist. So should we be outraged at the Turkish government? Absolutely, right? But understand that this is unfortunately a broader theme that goes for a lot of governments across the world, including our own. Now, this is unacceptable, and they should let him go immediately.
Right. And also, yes, I think the U.S. does play a factor in the notion of anyone that a government doesn't agree with being labeled as a terrorist to immediately discredit them. But Turkey itself, especially under President Erdogan, is in a world of trouble, especially when you consider the fact that they started off with trying to ban social media platforms like Twitter and YouTube because they knew that that's the best way to repress people. They won't have access to social media sites that help mobilize people who are in opposition to an elected leader. And also at the same time, this isn't the first time Turkey has done something terrible against journalists that are simply doing their jobs. Turkey was dubbed as the biggest prison for journalists in 2012 and 2013 by journalism organizations. In general, though, detained foreign journalists would either be released or deported. But in this case, now they're finally imprisoning them and they're keeping them imprisoned. So if they're trying to hide what they're actually doing to Kurds in Turkey, this is a terrible way of doing it. If anything, it draws more attention to some of the persecution that Kurdish people face in Turkey.
It does in the short term, but unfortunately in the long term, what it does is sends a message, especially the reporters inside Turkey. If you actually try to do journalism in this country, we will make you pay a heavy, heavy price. And you think Britain, the U.S., etc., might come to help these two Westerners. They're not going to come to help you, okay? That's the message Erdogan is sending. He's a right-wing strongman. If you care about democracy in Turkey and the idea of it continuing to be a secular country that thrives as a Western government, then you should be outraged at this. It's not like Erdogan is protecting Turkish interests. No, he's protecting his own interests. So if his government is doing something wrong, he's like, yeah, I'll make Turkey pay the price. I'll make Turkey look terrible in the eyes of the rest of the world, that we're a prison for journalists, that we don't have a democracy. We imprison anyone who doesn't agree with the official government stance. That makes Turkey look terrible, right? But he doesn't care. It's for his own political gain. That's why he's doing it. And the idea, and you know these charges are ridiculous when they say it could be PKK or Islamic State. Pick one. They're largely mortal enemies, right? They can't, the Vice news crew is not working for either one of those groups, let alone possibly both of them. It's outrageous and ridiculous. Let them go.